different music today here on the Tom Trento Show. Enemies of the State, October 22, 2014. Good afternoon. WSBR, 7:40 a.m. on your dial. 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Actually, it's 6 minutes after 4 p.m. Special guest coming right up. He is a constitutional attorney. An attorney who has argued before SCOTUS. That's pretty wild stuff.
Many times.
Yeah.
Dozen times.
Yeah, a dozen times.
12 times before the Supreme Court, right?
But not only has he done that, but he's cut that song that opened our show today, Where I
really?
Stand. Yeah.
Oh, he's multi-talented.
He's multi-talented. He is. He'll be with us shortly. And he's written a new book, The Rise of ISIS. The Rise of ISIS. And right now we know that ISIS, as of 4 o'clock in the afternoon on October 22nd, ISIS, and as you know, we call it the Islamic State.
Right.
The Islamic State has lobbed mortars into the green zone to the perimeter of the embassy in Baghdad. What a sad day this is. They are scoping in the United States Embassy, folks, in Iraq. The Islamic State is doing that. They've recaptured portions of Sinjar Mountain, where the Zahidis were trying to escape a few weeks ago. And President Obama, I think he went there by himself single-handedly and saved all of the Yazidis.
No, Tom, that was he had a press conference.
He had a press conference.
Taking credit
Okay.
for saving the
that,
Yazidis.
yeah.
He didn't actually do it himself.
The Islamic State is advancing once again, and our special guest today, as soon as we get him on the air, let me know when he's here. Is he here?
What? No, he's not here yet.
Not
No,
yet?
no,
Okay,
no,
all
no.
right,
Okay.
great.
We could give the viewing audience a quick sneak peek.
No.
Keep 'em waiting
hang
also?
them in. We'll let them hang
Okay.
in. But we've been doing an extensive investigation into the Council on American Islamic Relations, as you know, folks.
Right.
And today we're taking a little break from that.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, the folks over at CARE and the various affiliations around the United States and Washington are not very happy.
They're quite upset at
They're
us.
quite upset. But we understand that. In fact, that's what you want. You want your enemy to be upset. You never want them to be stable in their psychological thinking, which I don't think is a problem for the folks over at CARE National. Stability in their psychological makeup, I don't think that's an issue. You want them to always be off a beat. It's a big chess game. So we'll continue our chess game with these enemies of the state in the days to come. Our show yesterday was amazing with Kyle Scheidler. He laid out the command and control capabilities of the Muslim Brotherhood coming out of Qatar through Yosef Qaradari and sending dictates down during Operation Protective Edge to mobilize the Arab Street, the Hamas demonstrations.
We've seen those demonstrations.
We've seen them. You,
Yes,
Damon,
we
have been attacked by those guys. We had that footage. And when you look at what's going on with the Islamic Jihad worldwide, you got to deal with this group ISIS, the Islamic State. And right now we have an expert on the issue with us. Let me see if Mr. Sekulow is there. Jay Sekulow, you
I am,
sir. There you are. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Good. You might want to turn the camera around so he can see me.
Yeah, well, okay.
That's probably a good thing. Jay, you are doing amazing work. We told the folks before you got on that you had a couple of opportunities to argue before SCOTUS. Tell us what that was all about.
Well, I've had 12 arguments at the Supreme Court, most of them involving cases of freedom of speech, freedom of religion, but I also was heavily involved in the Patriot Act defense and the implementation of the Patriot Act, so I worked on some of the terrorism issues as well. So it's been a pretty broad, I did some of the election law cases, the McCain-Feingold, so it's been a broad experience. I always say everything from political speech to the Ten Commandments. Pretty broad.
To the Ten Commandments. Speaking of the Ten Commandments, we have an affinity. I am an evangelical Christian, and as I understand, you've lived in that world for a long time.
Yes.
And you actually are a nuanced evangelical, a messianic Jew. What is that all about for our audience? And we have a very large Jewish audience.
Yeah, it's Jewish people who believe that Jesus is the Messiah. My parents raised me in a Jewish home. I was bar mitzvahed at 13. I've been very involved in Jewish life, but while I was in college, I came to the spiritual conclusion, the theological conclusion that Jesus was the Messiah. And I never saw that as a conflict with who I was as a Jew. And it's interesting, Tom, because I also represent Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I'm dealing with the General Counsel for Israel today on an academic freedom issue. So, you know, they've never had a problem with it. It's Benjamin Disraeli, the famed conservative prime minister of Great Britain, said he was a Jewish Christian as well. Said he was the blank page between the Old and New Testament. So it's a kind of a good transition point.
That's a beautiful transition point. And for our audience, and we're live on commercial radio in South Florida from Miami to North Palm Beach. We're on iHeartRadio worldwide, WSBR 740 AM, folks. We're on Internet TV, and then portions of this go on Breitbart TV. For our folks out there, the United West, we do a lot of work with our Jewish brothers and sisters. It took me, Jay, probably, and I'm a graduate of Moody Bible Institute of Denver Seminary. I'm trained as an apologist. It took me 2 or 3 years to convince our Jewish brothers and sisters I don't want to convert them. It's not my job to convert anybody. I'm here to stand with Israel, particularly on national security defense issues. Yeah. Have you run into that also?
Well, I was the general counsel for Jews for Jesus, which is an evangelistic organization. That was my first case at the Supreme Court of the United States. But I always say this, my job is not to convert. My job is, when asked, to share what I believe and why I believe it, defend the faith, and to show that it's not inconsistent with being Jewish to believe in Jesus. So I've kind of modeled my life that way. I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of Jewish friends over the years and pretty well-known personalities and the question they always ask, and you think you're going to have you're at these dinners and you think it's going to be some great, question on terrorism or First Amendment or whatever it might be, and it ends up always being first. They want to know, how is it that you're a Jewish guy born in Brooklyn and you ended up believing in Jesus? So that's,
hey, Jay, we have in our studio here Schmucky Putznick, one of our guys here in South Florida. Schmucky, got any questions for Jay?
Well, I'm a 5'6" Jewish guy from Brooklyn as well, and I just wanted to welcome you to the Trento show.
There you go.
That's our Schmucky. He made an announcement the other day. For the first time, he's 88 years old. For the first time in 70 years, he's voting Republican this year. So it was great.
He will be joined by many.
I can't take what these Democrats are doing to Israel and this country anymore.
That's right. And that's the issue, Jay. I have found now through the years as an evangelical that particularly the Orthodox community and the political conservative Jewish community really are starting to open their arms to serious Christians who are Zionists, who don't want to convert them, but want to stand with them on national security issues. Now, you're in that same mold, and you've written this dandy little book. I mean, I have to tell folks, if you want a quick understanding of the Islamic State, this is great. How'd you get about writing this? What was that all about?
So I'm actually coming to you from our studio for our Oxford Center for the Study of Law and Public Policy. We have a center at Oxford, University of Oxford. Now this is in our media center right now, but we are over there 3 or 4 times a year. I did a series of research presentations and papers on terrorism. So the year before I did this one, it was just generally Middle East conflict, and then this became a situation where, as ISIS was growing, we have an office in Jerusalem. So we followed the split when Al-Qaeda Iraq became ISIS, when they were thrown out of Al-Qaeda, and we wanted to know what was the motivating factor. So we started researching this over a year ago, and then this summer we put together these white papers on who ISIS is, what their goals are, how they're doing it, where they're funded, the relationship with Hamas, which is the thing that's not talked about, which needs to be. And what we did there in this situation was put these papers together. When I got back, our publisher, Simon Schuster, said, let's get this out in a book, as a book. And we did. We had the book out 4 weeks after we got back from Oxford. It was in the ebook format, Kindles, and still is, of course, Nooks and whatever e-reader, Apple e-readers. And then as you said, the paperback version just came out this last week and is doing really well. We'll find out probably today if we hit the New York Times list or not. We think we did, but we don't. You don't ever know until it's out. But it was an idea that people need to be informed. This is an intergenerational conflict. ISIS is not Al-Qaeda. They are operating with a command and control. It's an army. And if you look at their numbers, which is 35 to 45,000, combine that with the numbers of Hamas, that is 75,000 jihadist soldiers in the region right now.
That is amazing. And folks, ladies and gentlemen, Tom Trento here on WSBR 740 AM, UnitedWest.org, Breitbart TV. You got to pick up Jay's book. Jay, how could they get this?
The Rise of ISIS for our radio listening.
Yeah, it's called ISIS. The rise of ISIS. It's
called Rise of ISIS: A Threat We Can't Ignore. You can go to Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. It's available there, of course, and you get it instantaneous, either on the ebook version or the paperback. Also, bookstores everywhere. I mean, Walmart's have it, Target has it, Barnes and Nobles, the stores. I think Sam's, Costco. It's pretty much distributed everywhere right now.
All right, it's 16 minutes after 4 o'clock on a beautiful...
And that is a New York Times bestseller, the original hard copy version. Is that correct, Jay?
The ebook was actually, you're right, the ebook, not the hardback. The ebook was number 3 on the New York Times bestsellers list.
Excellent.
Of course, we just came out with the paperback. The hardback won't be out until later in the year.
Okay.
Jay, I ordered it before it was actually out. I got it. I read it very quickly. I'm going, what is this guy doing? This stuff happened yesterday, and it's in a book today.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how quick this turnaround was.
Right.
Pretty amazing. But you make a couple of points, and it's 16 after right now, 4 o'clock in South Florida. You make a couple of points. One of them is the vicious, horrendously barbaric nature of the Islamic State. Expound upon that for a moment.
So they get thrown out of Al-Qaeda in Iraq before they were ISIS, gets thrown out of Al-Qaeda because of their barbarism. So the people that launched the attacks on the United States on 9/11 were deemed too barbaric. They deemed ISIS too barbaric. So they threw them out, mostly because they were also killing other Muslims that did not agree with ISIS theology. Then, of course, you had the establishment of the caliphate. So Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the founder of ISIS, the leader of al-Qaeda in Iraq, declares himself caliph. I actually saw this summer while I was at Oxford, his initial message from the mosque where he declares himself caliph. And that's when the president says, this is not a war with Islam. Tell that to Caliph Ibrahim, that it's not a war against Islam, because they sure view it that way. And then we looked at the 3 things they're doing differently than Al-Qaeda. So they're not hiding in caves. They're not just doing terrorism kind of hits. They are taking over cities. They have a command and control structure. And then number 3, they have real revenue coming in every day. In fact, the reports are this morning, the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, that the United States shockingly underestimated the cash flow coming in each day to ISIS. They said it was $1 million. Now it looks like $2 million a day from oil that I think it looks like being sold out of Turkey.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So they are Islamic, obviously, Mr. President. They're also a state. They're providing. We had Claire Lopez on recently. She laid out the state component, providing social benefits, school, education, all of that.
Banks, they're running the government, and they're also not called ISIS anymore. You remember they changed their name 3 times now. So first it was the Islamic State in Syria and Iraq, then the Islamic State in Syria and the Levant. Now, and the president keeps calling him ISIL, and I wish he would not do that, because ISIL represents the Levant, and the Levant represents Israel, and that's the Hamas tie-in. So you've got coming from this, how you have to look at it. If you looked at a map, you have ISIS coming in from the east going west. You have Hamas in the west going east.
Right.
And what's the focal point of all that? The target point is going to be Jordan and Israel. That's where the battle's going to be. And when Benjamin Netanyahu in his speech to the UN tied in ISIS and Hamas, let me tell you something, that was the right tie-in. And we got a little criticism early on. Oh, I can't believe you're putting Hamas in the same category. It's exactly the same. They're military operatives. They have the same goal. The only difference between what's happening in Syria and Iraq right now and what's happening in Israel is Israelis have the Israel Defense Forces, and unfortunately for the Iraqis and the Syrian Christians and other religious minorities, they have no real army right now other than the Kurds, who are underfunded, underprepared, and certainly don't have the munitions they need.
Well, Jay, you make an excellent point in your book, The Rise of ISIS, the collaboration philosophically, theologically, methodologically, the Hamas and the Islamic State. But you make the point that the Israelis have military force. But you make a very good point, legal issue, lawfare, that the UN and other entities are handcuffing Israel to prohibit them from fighting as they should. Tell us about that.
So it's called lawfare, and what they do is they utilize legal systems or UN bodies, international bodies, to delegitimize a legitimate state. So Israel has the right to defend itself. So when there's rockets in a hospital, the Israelis give a warning, and then people are supposed to clear, and they knock out the hospital being used as a launching pad. And then Hamas says, oh, I can't believe that the Israelis, struck a hospital. And the UN and the president and the UN come out condemning Israel. Now, the reality is that President Obama did say this, to his credit. I will give him this. He said at the UN here speech that, look, the old blame of Israel and the Palestinian conflict is the woe of the Middle East has obviously been put to rest now that ISIS are basically taking over the Middle East. When you look at those maps of what they control, it's breathtaking in scope. So what we're trying to do with Rise of ISIS, the threat we can't ignore, is educate everyone. Because I believe, Tom, this is an intergenerational conflict. This could be the 30-year war. And there's no doubt the United States had, if we had the will, we could knock this out much quicker. But we have a very reluctant commander-in-chief. And when you've got a reluctant commander-in-chief, the military troops can only do what they're allowed to do. All
right, well, you talk about a 30-year war. And that makes all the sense in the world when you take the long view, the long war view of Islam and all its various jihads. But you also make the point in your book, The Rise of ISIS, that the Hamas is an eternal enemy. Now, were you speaking with hyperbole there, or what's the deal?
Their goal is the elimination of the Jewish state, but also the domination globally of Islam. So they have patience. So it's an eternal conquest for them. And this is a conquest mentality. And what you've got to realize, and you know this, but I think people that are reading the book are realizing this, these groups, whether it's Hamas, Hezbollah, ISIS, are not just independently out there doing their own thing. There is a significant coordination. Now, the irony of all this is that Iran is very angry at Hamas. That's why Hamas had to basically stop firing rockets, because Iran, Shia Muslim, is mad at Hamas for supporting the Sunni ISIS groups in Iraq and Syria, which they are. So it's it's an inter-conflict within Islam that is as old as Islam itself, and it is the reality of what we're having to deal with right now, which is really significant.
All right, Jay, do we have a couple more minutes with you? Because the guys have a question,
sure.
And then I want to sum this up. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. How important is it, the oil triangle, and how worried should Saudi Arabia be of ISIS nowadays?
I think it's a great question. I think they have to be worried. I'll tell you where I think ISIS actually goes next, though, because it's an easier target for them than Saudi Arabia, and that's Jordan. Now, Jordan does not have large oil reserves, but it is on the border of Israel, and it would move their conquest even further towards the west as they're moving kind of east to west. So I think Jordan is in serious trouble. Saudi Arabia, look, they want to overthrow these what they call these faux, fake Islamic regimes, and the House of Saud, in their view, is fake and false and not following true Islam. So if they had the ability right now, they would do it. I mean, the air campaign has slowed them down somewhat, not stopped them by any stretch of the imagination. But they're still on the march. But Saudi Arabia needs to be concerned. Lebanon, of course, in complete turmoil anyways. But you get Jordan, Lebanon, and Saudi Arabia in this, you're talking about a World War III.
Whoa.
Right. Whoa.
All right, it's 24 minutes, folks. After 4 o'clock, we have Jay Sekulow with us, the author of Rise of ISIS. And Jay, you make a very good point in this book by going to primary sources where you get the leaders of the Islamic State. And I don't call them ISIS anymore, even though your book has that on the cover.
Right.
Well, they are the Islamic State. You're right about that. The book was already, the cover was already done. They are the Islamic State.
Okay, we'll give you that.
Well, we'll just scratch it out with a pen.
ISIS,
We'll just scratch it out with a pen.
Look, we're gonna edit out the other IS over here, okay? But you make the point
that
for
would make a horrible book title. Rise of Is.
The Rise of Is.
It matters what is, Jay. Come on, you know that stuff.
Right.
You make the point from primary sources that the leaders of the Islamic State say, hey, we are following Muhammad and we are following the son of the Hadith. We have to clean our own house before we go for the infidel, the kafir. So they're cleaning up, and Jordan is right there on the track to al-Quds.
That's exactly, Tom, that's exactly the point. I mean, the reason that ISIS isn't going after Israel, and they make this very clear, is because their view is to clean up, get control of Islam, get control of the Muslim world, and then that will take Israel, it will take care of itself because they'll have such force and strength, they'll be able to annihilate the Jewish state. But we have, and you said this, and I'm looking at it now, 20 pages of endnotes that are not just here's a source, it's a source with a discussion. It's like a book within a book. I mean, you look at the just sheer sources that we have there, but we also put discussion, and then we couldn't put it all in the body of the book, but it's in the endnotes, and the endnotes are worth a read because it talks about these organizations, what they stand for, when they carried out their first suicide attacks, how they did it. It's all in Rise of ISIS.
Yeah, we know this stuff pretty well, and we highly recommend this book. One more question, then I'm going to ask Jay to...
I just had a real quick question, Jay. Do you think that Obama being one of the few people left that still refers to them as ISIL has anything to do with his contempt for Israel?
Well, I've been trying to figure out why in the world the White House is using the term that ISIS utilized when they were on the march, which was they were calling themselves ISIL then. Why in the world would we acknowledge that? But I'll tell you what I think it is as part of that. The president views the Middle East through a lens of antiquity, as if he could woo the Muslim world and these were going to be his great allies. Look what Turkey isn't doing, a NATO ally. Look what they're not. They're watching Kurds on their border be disseminated, destroyed, and they're just doing nothing about it because Turkey doesn't want to engage the Kurds. And
well, they did bomb them a week ago.
Well, yeah, but that was. Yeah, they bombed the Kurds.
Exactly.
I mean, the Kurds are the only ones, the Peshmerga are the only ones fighting ISIS with any real strength right now. So I do not like that he uses the phrase ISIL. I say that often on our broadcasts. But I get it's part of the narrative that the White House has about a greater Middle East, and I think it's very unfortunate when he does it.
All right, Jay Sekulow, why don't you sum up, in particular, the sharp point we want you to put here is the necessity of the Christian world, primarily and others, to stand with Israel in these very, very difficult days.
So, as I said, if you look at the map, you've got it coming in from the east and you've got it coming in from the west, and the focal point of all this becomes Israel. So we have got to stand with Israel. I mean, it's a biblical command that we do it. In Genesis 3, we know that one. I'll bless those that bless thee and curse those that curse thee. But there's also a geopolitical consideration here. This is our ally in the region, and really our only, certainly right now, our only stable ally. Jordan's an ally in the region too. Egypt to some extent. But there's a lot of turmoil there. So when you look at the situation, Israel is that beacon of hope in the land of promise, they call it within the Jewish tradition. It's a democracy. It operates with principles that we're much more familiar with in the West. It's the only place where there is true liberty and freedom of expression and freedom of speech and freedom of religion. And they're also strategic. If Israel falls, the Middle East gets dominated by groups like this. You've got an economic war as well as a physical war. So to me, it's not an option. It doesn't mean, by the way, that Israel gets a pass on everything they do. I think we always should be critical when we need to be critical. We are. I mean, I represent them, and I'll tell them you should do this versus that. In my view, I don't get to make the call. I'm just the lawyer. But at the end of the day, I don't think we have a choice. I think we must support Israel, back Israel. We're delaying Iron Dome funding during the last conflict was absurd. But this, again, it was cutting against President Obama's narrative. By the way, we've spelled that out in the book. Why you've got to stand with Israel, why the laws of war, as you mentioned, Tom, have been used against Israel, and why that's wrong. We've laid it all out in Rise of ISIS.
All right, Jay Sekulow, we're going to have you back in the future.
Thank you.
Wait. We got a little music to go out on.
Take you out on.
Can you hear that?
Can you hear that?
I can't hear it, but I suspect I know the song.
It's a little song called Where I Stand.
Yeah. By the way, a new version of that coming out on our Facebook on Saturday, an acoustic version with bluegrass and country music legend Ricky Skaggs. It's going to be unbelievable.
Are you a drummer? Yeah. Are you the drummer?
Yeah, actually on this one I'm playing guitar. I play both drums and guitar, and this one I'm playing guitar. When Ricky said he would do it, I said I am playing guitar next to Ricky Skaggs.
Well, you're also a Jew. You're also a Jew. Yep. Do you walk on water by any chance?
No,
okay. Hey, we'll see you, Jay Sekulow.
Thanks a lot.
All right, bye-bye. Good job, Jay.
Yeah.
Good job.
That
Good job.
was,
He's excellent. Yeah, he's.
That's a pretty heavy hitter of a guest you got there, Trent.
Yeah. No, he's been in the working in the Christian world for many, many, many years and done amazing stuff for all the social issues and all that. I am so glad he's focused on these national security concerns. And for people just tuning in, 29 after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 22 October 2014. Did you think you'd make it to 2014?
Really?
Some of you out there, you go, man, I never thought I'd make it into the new millennium.
I'm thrilled.
2014. Well, we want to show you a couple of minutes of a group that doesn't want to have you make it out of 2014.
They don't play in bands. They're not drummers or anything.
No, these guys are not drummers. They drum your head a little bit. But take a look at the folks that we have just been discussing, the Islamic State.
Right.
Then we're going to get Arie here. We're trying to get Arie in Israel, one of our national security contacts in Israel, to give us an update on a couple of issues. Take a look at the Islamic State in all their wonder and glory.
We are waiting for you in David.
A little bit different
We are waiting
song.
for you in Iraq. So bring a coalition of unbelievers because these unbelievers will not help you. And your puppet apostates, these people cannot help you in the least. We'll take their weaponry as booty, and these people will die. I know this, that you cannot come into Sham, you cannot come into Iraq, and think that you will take it. No way. We are willing to lay down our blood on this soil. So try to come, and we will kill every single soldier, bi'idhnillah. We will chop off the heads of the Americans, chop off the heads of the French, chop off the heads of whoever you may bring. Who can help you against the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Who can help you against the sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
They can help us, all right.
I know that none can help you. I know that we are fighting for a cause. I know that we are fighting to die and to gain shahada. I know that you are fighting for this world, and this is nothing to us, and we willingly give our blood. And the bombs that you drop on us, this will not divert us from our plans. No, this only strengthens us, and this only gives us more purpose to be here. Know this, that it is not just one American. It is not just one European that is here.
Man.
Know that we are many.
Shut this guy up. Oh, shut this guy up. God.
I
Jeez,
think
oh,
that was
man.
my third cousin.
Yes, it's just jeez, oh man.
For the driving audience and for you folks listening on your
You
AM
were turning
radios.
into Al Qaeda radio. Right?
Yeah, Al Qaeda radio. You folks listening on your radio, we want you to, after you listen, because most people, unless you're driving somewhere for an hour, can't catch the whole show. And every second of this show is so critical. They're woven together, stitched together perfectly as a mosaic. No impromptu, no spontaneity.
Nothing like that.
Nothing like that. What's
To
going on
the
right
second.
What's this dog doing on my lane? We want you to go.
You don't know how true that is sometimes.
There is a dog here somewhere protecting us.
Protecting his guard dog.
He'll drool on you if you try to get us.
Filthy animals.
We want.
That's right. You guys don't like dogs, do you?
Not
That's
in the
why I
least
surround
bit.
myself with dogs. I don't need
Filthy
weapons.
animal.
Don't need weapons.
That's right. You guys want to. Oh, God.
Drool, Fido, drool on that Islamic State warrior. No, we want you to go to theunitedwest.org. We put our show up at 4 o'clock, so it's broadcast on the radio and on the internet at the same time. Go back and watch it on the internet, because we just showed a 2-minute clip of the Islamic State. They are utilizing the highest technology of computers, of editing, of cameras, of Twitter, of Facebook, all that. All that stuff.
I do have to say, from an editorial standpoint, doing a lot of video editing and production and video production, these guys are bringing it.
Pretty good.
And they're not just like some wax just cutting video and throwing it up there.
And their market is not typically, when we speak someplace, our warriors. Let's say they've been collecting Social Security for about 20 years. Okay, right. Our main warriors. So the Lord in heaven has given us sort of a sophisticated, sort of graying set of warriors to fight this battle with. Conversely, the Islamic State, they're gearing for the 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. And
right.
You guys know, just today, 3 teenagers, women, from where I used to live in Colorado, made their way to Turkey, on their way to Syria, got pinched in. They got stopped in Frankfurt, and the FBI is doing some good work with that. So we have Arie with us.
We do. I just real quick. There have been shots fired inside the Canadian Parliament building. A soldier was hit. Not saying it was ISIS yet. But if you'll remember what happened a couple days ago with 2 Canadian soldiers being run over by a diehard ISIS sympathizer, guys, this is coming to our shores.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also going. It's also been at the shores and the borders of Israel, and we're going to have Arnie Egozi with us shortly.
Okay. He's here.
That's not shortly. That's quickly. We're going to have Arie with us quickly. Arie, welcome back, sir. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Can we see you? There you are.
There
okay. Yes. You got a fancy background. Look,
he's got his website background there.
Very
it's
cool.
It's a big occasion, so we got prepared.
There you go. Now, are you over your cold?
Yeah, some of that went to you. So
I have your coal. I have your coal.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
I caught Arie's cold last week.
right.
Via Skype?
Via Skype, yeah. It's a Skype infection.
I hope
kinda like how
Ebola doesn't
Ebola
spread
spreads
like
like that.
that.
I know. But I have all this stuff right here that nobody can see
Okay.
when I'm off camera. Now, I'm feeling great today. We just had Jay Sekulow on, who's written the book, The Rise of ISIS, and we went through some of the history of the Islamic State. And he said the book got published so quickly that really the name is not ISIS anymore. It's the Islamic State. It grew very, very quickly, and that there's coordination, command and control coordination with the HAMAS right now. Give us a little feel. And Arnie Egozi is one of our guys on the ground in Israel, going to brief us on a weekly basis on the happenings in Israel. We have his website up there.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
It's Israel's Homeland Security Home, and it's basically for anything having to do with national security for the great country of Israel. It's a must-do. For anyone who's into the military hardware, intelligence, it's absolutely phenomenal, the insight you could get into the military complex.
Yeah, and for those who follow the United West, all of our work, you should bookmark this website. Check it out every day for the new information. Great stuff.
I-HLS.com. I as in igloo -HLS.com. Anyone listening to this needs to check out the site.
Absolutely. Arie's been in the field, 40 years or so? You've been dealing with these issues?
Yes, I've been covering the defense establishment for the last 40 years, 40.
Wow. What if we came to Israel tomorrow and brought our cameras on the beaches of Tel Aviv, or up in Netanya, or down in Eilat, and just walked up to Israelis and said, "Who is the Islamic State, and what does it mean to you?" How do you think they'd answer that? The average Israeli.
The Islamic State is considered by Israelis, watching the videos that they release, as worse than the Nazis. They do things that I've seen a lot of atrocities in my life as a journalist. When you watch these movies, only yesterday they showed a father that took his daughter and put it in a hole in the ground to be stoned by those. This is.
Oh, well, yeah, we're talking.
I don't even have the right word to describe the atrocities that they do. So for the Israelis, we have got used to terror attacks, bombs, rockets, but they kill people just for fun. I think that ISIS now attracts to Iraq and Syria pedophiles, crazy people who just want to kill people for fun. It's like an amusement park for them. This is amazing. And only for the just an update from last hours, an RPG anti-tank rocket was fired today from Sinai towards an Israeli patrol. A lady officer was wounded, and a soldier was wounded. 20 minutes ago, a car went into one of the stations of the Jerusalem light train and hit some people, among them a baby, which is it's going on right now. The injured are still on the ground. They're being evacuated right now. So terror is in Jerusalem. Terror is in the border with Sinai. Terror is getting close to Jordan now. And the king yesterday accused Israel for all the problems of the world. Instead of trying to defend his border and don't let the ISIS people or the IS people get into his country, I don't understand that, really. I'm trying to think why, but I don't understand it.
Wait, you're laying out the attack, and it's 40 minutes after 4 o'clock on the East Coast. Tom Trento, WSBR. We're on the radio, 7:40 a.m. We're on theunitedwest.org. We have Arnie Egozi with us again. He'll be with us on a regular basis. He's laying out the occurrences today of an attack on the Sinai down by the Egyptian border against a Humvee. then something going on in Jerusalem right now. But Arie, you said the King Abdullah from Jordan, attacked or blamed Israel in some way. I haven't heard that yet. What happened?
Yes, he appeared yesterday on the Jordanian TV with his uniform, so the general, I don't know, and he blamed Israel for not talking with the same thing that Secretary Kerry did. He blamed Israel for not talking with the Palestinians, and he said that because of that, ISIS can achieve what they have achieved in the last months. This is stupid. This is crazy. His country will fall in days. The Jordanian army is very weak. If ISIS decides to take Jordan, it will take him a week to take Jordan. So instead of cooperating with Israel, because you know that Israel helps Jordan in many ways, which many of them are classified behind the scenes. Instead of cooperating with Israel, we have a peace treaty, but above that, saying we will stand together to stop ISIS. He's blaming Israel again. I don't understand. I really don't understand.
Yeah, let's explore that for a moment. What we're doing, folks, Tom Trento here with Arie Egozi. John Kerry, our Secretary of State, recently implied that the massive success and generation of people following the Islamic State is partly due to the Arab-Israeli issue and the fact that the Jews aren't, giving Hamas what Hamas wants and Fatah and all this nonsense.
Not giving them peace.
Yeah,
or something, not giving them land or not doing something.
This narrative, which I guess still works with some soft-headed people, it fails on a strategic basis. It fails on a tactical basis when you look at the facts. What's the Israeli leadership? Let's look at that first, because that's where the policy is. Are the Israeli leadership buying into this narrative that, oh, we better really make peace, otherwise the Islamic State is going to be gigantic?
No, I think that everyone in Israel, including the politicians, read that news story about Kerry, what he said again and again, and they couldn't believe their eyes. What is the connection between Israel not reaching a peace with the Palestinians and ISIS? If Israel would not existed here, or if Hamas would have thrown us to the sea, ISIS would still kill people. So how can you combine those two things together? I read it again and again, and many people, Minister Bennett, which he doesn't have much control on what he says. He attacked Kerry, and for good reasons, because this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And I know that people that I talk to in the defense establishment, they said this is, I don't want to use the words they use, but
you can't use
crazy.
Those words.
It's really crazy. It doesn't make any sense.
Let's look at it as what we do here at the United West. When we do our investigations, we sit around a table, we look at the various scenarios, we play them out, we red team these scenarios, take the other side. What do you think of this? And I'm thinking of this right now as we're talking, and we're talking with Arnie Egozi. He is coming live via Skype. We've got a very good connection today. The squirrels in Israel are providing the power to get the signal
overtime.
out.
Yeah.
They're working overtime. Yeah. It is 44 minutes after 4 on the East Coast in Florida, nighttime in Israel. Arie, what do you think of this? You know the Islamic State are extremely sophisticated at social media. When they hear what Secretary Kerry said,
same thing.
When they hear what the Jordanian officials are saying, do you believe they put their propaganda machine into effect and create videos and social networking posts to carry that affirmative comment and send it out to recruit more 18-year-old jihadis who thirst for blood?
Absolutely. I think that since the appearance of ISIS, they have been using videos and TV in a fantastic way. That must be said. They have some experts. They, according to the Israeli intelligence, some villages and cities, especially in Iraq, fell because the people saw the videos with the atrocities and just ran away. They didn't even try to shoot one shot to stop ISIS. So I think that some of the volunteers that came from the USA and Europe brought the knowledge how to use the social media and how to use videos to scare the people, and they use it from their side in a fantastic way. They show beheading, they show mass killings, and people say these people are crazy, so we'll run away, we'll try to save a life. In Turkey, there are more than 1 million refugees that cross the border from Syria. Yesterday, the Channel 2 in Israel showed the camps. They live in terrible conditions. They ran away because they saw the videos that ISIS distribute, and you see, not even animals don't do such thing. They put 200 people in a ditch and shot them in the heads. That's, of course, and when they hear such accusation by Kerry, by other people, they are happy. Their job is being done by others, of course.
All right, here's the point, folks. Tom Trento with Arie Egozi, live from Israel at 46 minutes after 4 o'clock, WSBR Radio, 740 on your dial. We're on theunitedwest.org. And where else are we being broadcast?
Tea Party Community.
Tea Party Community.
And also, we're being broadcast on Roku.
On Roku.
And DirecTV. You can go to DirecTV through your internet connection.
You can do your internet connection.
Watch it live.
We're all over the place.
Also, iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio.
I tell you what, I love the iHeartRadio thing. Anywhere. I mean, you're walking around, you get your headphones in. You never have to worry about getting out of the car or whatever. You know, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful.
The iHeart is on 4 o'clock East Coast time, Eastern time, every day. If you want to, if you're not around some media device, you can go to our website, theunitedwest.org. Anytime after the show is aired from 4 to 5, so 5 o'clock on. But what we're doing...
Still prefer the good old AM radio.
You like that AM radio. But what we're doing right now in our conversation, we're having an analytical conversation about the tactics of the Islamic State. We had Jay Sekulow on in the first half, who's written the book, The Rise of ISIS. He laid out the historical, philosophical, theological, and legal approach that the Islamic State is taking as they coordinate with the Hamas, ironically, and other terrorist groups. And Arie's here now. We're talking about, on the ground in Israel, the impact that the Islamic State is having psychologically. The point we want to make right now from a military perspective, folks, beheading someone has zero tactical capabilities. If you behead somebody tactically, it really doesn't mean anything in a war. You've killed one person, you can kill them a million different ways. But it has phenomenal strategic capability. Why so?
Well, I would answer that by saying simply that the strategic capability is, this is like putting a big red light up in front of a horde of moths. They're going to come swarming to that attraction because these videos they're putting out is bringing in thousands and thousands, and they're to put this in the context. These people are dropping whatever they do. They're coming from Europe. We had 3 girls the other day from the United States leaving America.
Yep.
15, 16, and 17-year-old girls leaving America, stealing $1,000 to jump on a plane to run over to a desert to be with a bunch of thugs. That's how effective these videos are. And
I wasn't looking at that angle, Mark, of the strategic value.
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say to strike terror into the hearts of your enemies.
Yeah, that's what Arie just said. He said that cities in Iraq, when the Islamic State is advancing, they run away.
They poop their drawers.
Right, they do.
And so the strategic value strikes fear in the hearts. And where have we read that?
What's a Genghis Khan?
In the Quran. But also, in terms of that dynamism, that romance of Saladin and Muhammad in the Middle Ages fighting the battles, the young jihadis are
just flocking,
finding their way to Syria to fight the Crusaders.
And to go back to your earlier point is, that this is a proven military tactic with installing fear into your enemy. Genghis Khan did it well. In fact, that's the only thing the Muslims understood when Khan came in and just wiped them out back during the I forget what century it was, but when he came in there and wiped them out, he used to chop their heads off, put them on sticks, install fear throughout the whole community, and that's when the Islamic community backed down.
And you can't, when someone's using a tactic to accomplish a strategy, the military planners who are trying to figure out what to do cannot buy into that tactic as the strategy.
Right.
They have to come up with their own strategy to overcome the tactics and then gain control of the situation. Arie, another question for you. We have a situation going on here that's very, very disturbing to those of us who support Israel and recognize, as Jay Sekulow said earlier, that when Israel's fighting these battles, we have to be there, we, the United States taxpayer and government, with resupply, with assistance, with our technical assistance, with our intelligence assistance. And we heard during Operation Protective Edge of the poor soldier, Oran Shaul, who was apparently captured, dead or alive, probably dead, by the Hamas. And there was a window of opportunity for the IDF to get some technical information to respond and maybe catch the Hamas killers. Tell us about that situation.
Yes, Oran Shaul was probably killed immediately after the APC was targeted by an anti-tank rocket. That's a fact. We think that he got killed immediately, but the Israelis, his Facebook page was hacked by Hamas people from Gaza, and the Israeli intelligence went to the FBI and asked them for help. Technical people will tell you that they thought that if you will follow backwards who is hacking the website, you can get an address, because the all IDF was in Gaza trying to get something, dead or alive. And the Justice Department in Washington said no, on a stupid technicality say that there are no treaty on legal cooperation between the two countries. Life is at stake. Israel is at war. The United States is the biggest ally of Israel, and they ask for support, technical support for the FBI. That is beyond my comprehension. Maybe you can understand them and explain. I can't.
So the only way we understand it. Well, Mark, what was your thought?
No, I just want to make it clear of what actually happened. The FBI, the Israeli government asked the FBI about information on the soldier that was missing, and the Justice Department said, no, you can't give these. Well, is that what happened?
What happened was...
Yes, exactly that.
Yeah. The FBI had access to Facebook. They could have... in fact, they sent a letter to Facebook and said, don't throw anything out, okay, regarding this soldier's Facebook page. Don't touch it, which the FBI can do immediately. They seize... They stopped the information from going anywhere. Now they had to go to the Justice Department, and this is okay, because you don't want the FBI just grabbing information with no due process. Right. They said, we have a situation live, hot, right now in Israel. We want to trace the ISP, the address,
the IP address
of the IP address, whoever hacked into the page.
Right.
So therefore, the IDF could have quickly found where they were located, maybe found the phone, found a bunch of things. And the FBI moved quickly, and they did the right thing. Then supposedly higher up in the Justice Department, they said, well, we don't have this certain agreement, an MLAT, M-L-A-T, mutual legal agreement, whatever. So we have to get that approved, and the window closed.
Boom,
and
it was over.
Closed, the body was
so
gone. And now, what's going on right now with Oran Shaul's body? Arie?
Yeah, there were rumors that the Hamas is going to ask something for his remains.
Oh, God.
And I think that they will ask for the release of all the people that were caught during the operation. I don't know what the Israeli government will say. In past cases, Israel released Hamas people. I don't know. I expect in the coming days, the coming weeks, a demand from Hamas for exchange of body or part of body for prisoners. Yeah. That will happen for sure.
What a sad
well, I wonder what CARE's opinion would be on that. CARE, what's your opinion on releasing the body back to the Israelis? Are you going to stand with Hamas, or are you going to stand with Israel and America? Oh, well, let me see.
Well, that is very easy. Give us our prisoners, you get your buddy.
Yeah. The Arabic will be that, and the English will be this. So, gentlemen, Damon, last question for Arie, then we'll have to let him go.
Well, I just wanted to bring up one more topic real quick that I think is absolutely horrendous, and it goes along with a couple of the last things we've been going over, with John Kerry accusing Israel of fomenting ISIS, and then the FBI lack of cooperation. I read something in Israel Defense the other day. U.S.-Israeli relations, national security trauma, and basically it says that the U.S. was denying arms shipments to Israel during Operation Protective Edge. What do you know about that?
I know that the U.S. has delayed a shipment of some kind of weapon systems during Protective Edge. I don't think that would have made a change in the operation, but I think it shows that some people in the government, under certain conditions, are not happy with what Israel is doing, and they do everything they can to delay shipment like that. And I don't think that such a thing should happen between two allies, especially in a situation of war. It's strange. It's strange. The shipment got to Israel, but with a delay.
All right, Arie, we know you are involved for many years with the defense mechanisms in Israel, and you have to be diplomatic. We don't have to be diplomatic here. This president hates Israel. If anybody thinks anything differently, they're mistaken factually, they're mistaken intellectually, they're mistaken emotionally. This president despises Israel. He blames Israel for the cause of the problem in the Middle East. He truly believes that if Israel didn't exist, the world would be a safer, saner place. So when Operation Protective Edge was launched, after hundreds of missiles, recent missiles had come in, preceded by thousands of missiles, and Israel, following, as Jay Sekulow said, their legal right to defend themselves, President Obama did everything he possibly could to stop the war, stop the Israelis from destroying the Hamas. We had a show. We were pushing strongly for the destruction of the Hamas's military capability and the demilitarizing of the Hamas. That's part of the solution. But no, this president forced Israel's hand in many respects to not demilitarize and not destroy the Hamas, so simply offset the attacks that are going to come as they now join with the Islamic State. Never, ever forget, viewers and listeners, President Obama is anti-Israel. He'll take Jewish money, you stupid Jews that give him money. He'll take your money, but he won't defend your country. And that's a fact. Arie, thank you very much. We'll see you next week for another live report from Israel, and we'll be in touch even before that.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye.
Yeah, he has to be a little diplomatic. Isn't it ironic that the idiot Jewish media moguls in Hollywood are raising millions and millions of dollars for Obama, which he turns around to use against the state of Israel?
It's called Jewicide, and I can't take it anymore.
And you are voting
Republican.
Oh, my word.
For the first time in 88 years.
And,
Have you voted?
Not yet.
I think
Don't
it's.
let us down.
I'm doing it.
I think
come over there. Come over there right now. No, I'm a kind,
nice guy.
You're a good Christian,
That's
Trento.
right, that's
hey,
right.
for you fans out there, that Trento's no Jew, but he's a big Zionist.
Don't forget those crusades where we tried to rescue Jerusalem.
That's right.
And a few things went sideways on that.
I think
but,
Smucky's pulling our leg. I don't think he's actually going to go through it.
Yeah. Anyway, Jay Sekulow, thank you very much. Arie Egozi, wonderful show. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Trento for the boys here saying goodbye. We'll catch you tomorrow. Great show tomorrow, too. See ya.